My name is Liam, and I never thought a single phrase from my boss could completely upend my life. But here I was, sitting in my small, dimly lit apartment, staring at a neatly folded blouse and skirt on my bed, the soft fabric whispering possibilities I'd never dared to explore. A week ago, I was just another mid-level office worker, quietly blending into the sea of suits and ties. Now, the stakes had changed, and so had the rules. It all started with my promotion, or rather, the lack of it. I'd been working for Mr. Carter, the CEO of the firm, for nearly 3 years. I prided myself on efficiency, attention to detail, and a quiet competence that kept the office machinery running smoothly. But the promotion that I had been expecting for months went to someone else. I didn't understand why. That was until Mr. Carter called me into his office, the leather chair behind his massive oak desk exuding authority and subtle intimidation. "Liam," he began, his voice calm yet commanding, "I need someone who can handle more than just numbers and reports. Someone adaptable, someone who can step into a role that requires a unique presentation. Are you willing to prove yourself?" I blinked. "Of course, sir. I'll do whatever it takes." He leaned back, his sharp eyes scrutinizing me.
"Good.
"Starting tomorrow, you'll assist me directly. As my personal assistant." The words themselves didn't strike me as unusual at first. But then he added, almost offhandedly, "And you'll need to present yourself accordingly. Professional.
Polished.
Attractive." I froze. My mind raced. Attractive? Polished? Was he testing me? Was this some weird power move? I swallowed hard, nodding. "Understood, sir." As I left his office, my heart thundering, a mix of fear and curiosity coursed through me. What did he mean? How far would I have to go to prove myself? That night, I went home and did something I never thought I would. I opened a drawer I'd been keeping secret, a drawer where I had carefully stored a few pieces of women's clothing I had bought over the past months. It wasn't for anyone else, not for fun, not for rebellion. Just curiosity. Just a part of me I had never fully explored. And now, staring at the blouse and skirt, I realized I had no choice. If I wanted to survive this new challenge, if I wanted to impress Mr. Carter and secure my position, I had to step into this unfamiliar world. The city lights filtered through my blinds, casting narrow slits of silver across the wooden floor. I picked up the blouse, feeling the silky fabric slip through my fingers. The skirt was soft, tailored perfectly for a woman's frame, and the thought of wearing it sent an unexpected shiver down my spine. I had never dressed like this before in public, never let anyone see this side of me. Yet here I was, about to cross a boundary I didn't even know existed. My phone buzzed. A message from Lana, my girlfriend, flashed across the screen. "Dinner at my place tonight. Don't be late." I sighed. Lana was understanding about many things, but this was a secret I couldn't share, not yet. Not until I knew what I was stepping into. I placed the blouse and skirt on my bed and sat down, running my hands through my hair. Memories of small private moments replayed, times when I had tried on makeup in secret, or slipped into a blouse that fit me just right, feeling a mix of exhilaration and shame. I had never told anyone, not even Lana. But now, this wasn't about curiosity anymore. It was about survival, about proving myself. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror, stripped to my underwear, heart hammering. My reflection stared back at me with wide, uncertain eyes. Taking a deep breath, I began. First the blouse, sliding it over my shoulders and feeling the soft fabric cling in ways I wasn't used to. Then the skirt, zipping it up carefully, adjusting the fit. I pulled on stockings, thin, almost impossibly smooth, and felt my body transform under their embrace. My reflection looked different. Not just the clothing. Something about me had shifted. Confidence, or at least the appearance of it, had crept in. I experimented with makeup cautiously. A light foundation to even out my skin, a touch of eyeliner to make my eyes pop, subtle lip gloss that gave my lips a sheen I had never experienced. Each stroke of the brush felt like stepping further into an unfamiliar persona, a version of myself that was both thrilling and terrifying. Standing there fully dressed, I caught my reflection one last time. I barely recognized the person looking back. Yet beneath the silk and makeup, I knew I was still me. Liam. Just a more daring, more visible version. Work that day was a blur. Mr. Carter's office door swung open as I arrived, and he looked me over with a measuring gaze. "Very good," he said, nodding approvingly. "You understand the presentation, I expect. Keep this up, and you'll prove your worth." I forced a smile, heart racing. Every step, every movement felt like walking a tightrope. Could I maintain this persona? Could I balance this secret with my daily life? The thrill was intoxicating, but so was the fear. By the end of the day, I returned home, exhausted but exhilarated. Lana noticed the subtle changes immediately. "You look different today," she remarked, curiosity tinged with concern. I smiled vaguely, deflecting. Not ready for this conversation yet, I thought. As I lay in bed that night, the blouse and skirt carefully folded beside me, I realized something important. This wasn't just a task or a dare for my boss anymore. It was a journey, one that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself. Tomorrow, I would step back into Mr. Carter's office, ready to prove myself again. But tonight, I let myself linger in the thrill and fear of transformation, knowing that the line between Liam and the pretty PA was growing thinner by the hour. And deep down, a part of me wondered, could I ever go back to being just Liam? Or had Mr. Carter's challenge awakened something inside me that was here to stay? The next morning, I woke up before the sun, my mind buzzing with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The blouse and skirt I had carefully selected the previous night were already folded neatly on my chair, as if daring me to step into them again. My heart raced at the thought. This was no longer an experiment or a secret thrill. It had become a challenge with real consequences. I took a deep breath and began my transformation ritual. Every step felt deliberate, almost ceremonial. First, the stockings, pulling them up my legs carefully, feeling the silky tension tighten against my skin. Then the skirt, fitted snugly at the waist, accentuating curves I hadn't even known existed. The blouse followed, brushing softly against my shoulders and chest. I paused for a moment, letting the sensation sink in, the subtle sway, the smooth fabric, the reflection of a version of me I had only glimpsed in private mirrors. Makeup was next. I started with a light foundation, smoothing it over my skin with careful precision. Then eyeliner, mascara, a touch of blush, and finally a subtle pink lip gloss. Each layer changed my face slightly, almost imperceptibly, but enough to make me see someone entirely new in the mirror. Liam still existed beneath the surface, but the reflection staring back at me was someone else, someone confident, polished, and undeniably feminine. When I walked into Mr. Carter's office, the atmosphere shifted. His eyes flicked over me with a calculated scrutiny, and for a moment, my confidence faltered. But then he smiled. "Very good," he said, his voice smooth. "I can see you understand the presentation now. You'll need to maintain this. Meetings, calls, and client visits. Everything requires finesse. You can do this, Liam." Finesse. Presentation. Confidence. Words that suddenly carried weight far beyond their ordinary meanings. I nodded, forcing a smile as the knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. Every step out of the office and into the lobby felt like walking on glass. Each glance from a colleague or a client was a test, a potential trap that could unravel everything I had carefully constructed. By mid-morning, I realized that this challenge was more than just clothing and makeup. It was an entire persona I had to embody, and any slip could expose me completely. A client called unexpectedly, and I had to answer in a soft, polished tone that didn't feel natural. My heart raced with every word, but I forced the cadence, the smiles, the subtle flirtations my boss had hinted at. By the time I hung up, I was sweating, my palms tingling. Lunch was a different kind of trial. My coworkers, unaware of the transformation, regarded me with curious glances and whispered comments. "You look different today," one murmured. "Who knew Liam had it in him?" Another laughed softly, unaware of how high the stakes really were. I forced a smile, feeling both exhilaration and a sharp pang of shame. Returning to the office, the tension ratcheted higher. Mr. Carter had scheduled a surprise review with a visiting client. I had to present documents, take notes, and maintain a poise that felt increasingly foreign. Every movement, the tilt of my head, the flick of my hair, the way I crossed my legs, was scrutinized, not just by Mr. Carter, but by the client's eyes as well. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet alive in a way I had never been before. By late afternoon, I found a quiet moment in the break room. My hands trembled as I sipped water, trying to steady my racing thoughts. The thrill of crossdressing, which had once been a secret indulgence, was now inseparable from the high-stakes tension of my job. I realized that this challenge wasn't just about appearance, it was about identity, about stepping into a version of myself that demanded bravery and precision. Text messages from Lana punctuated my anxiety. "You've been quiet today. Everything okay?" I wanted to respond, to explain, but how could I? Not about this. Not yet. I tucked my phone away, feeling the weight of secrecy pressing down harder than the silk skirt against my skin. The final task of the day was assisting Mr. Carter with a high-profile presentation. He leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting, and said, "Liam, I need you to not just assist, embody the role. Clients need to see someone polished, attentive, and impressive. Can you handle that?" I swallowed hard, nodding. "Yes, sir. I'll do my best." As the evening descended, the city lights reflecting off glass buildings, I felt both triumphant and exhausted. The transformation had succeeded, but at what cost? My body ached from high heels and stockings. My mind spun with the constant tension of maintaining the persona, and my heart ached from the secret I couldn't share with Lana. Back home, I undressed carefully, folding the blouse and skirt and placing them on my chair like a ritual. My reflection in the mirror was just Liam again, but I could feel the traces of the other persona lingering, the poise, the subtle sway, the heightened awareness of how I moved through space. I realized that this challenge had changed more than my wardrobe. It had awakened a part of me that I had only dared to explore in private, a part that now demanded recognition and presence. I sat on my bed, exhausted, and texted Lana, "Long day. Can't wait to see you." Her reply was quick. "Me too. Dinner?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see me, feeling a pang of guilt and longing. Dinner would mean reverting to Liam again, hiding the persona I had just embodied. The duality of my life pressed on me like never before. I knew this was only the beginning. Mr. Carter's challenge wasn't just a one-day test. It was ongoing, relentless, and demanding. Each day, I would have to balance the thrill of transformation with the fear of exposure, the exhilaration of confidence with the vulnerability of secrecy. As I drifted to sleep that night, my mind replayed the day's events, the approving glance from Mr. Carter, the whispers of colleagues, the thrill of makeup and stockings, the ache of high heels. I knew tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to test my limits. And somewhere deep inside, I felt a spark of something I had never felt before, a dangerous, intoxicating curiosity that urged me to push further, to see just how far I could go. This was no longer just about proving myself at work. It was about discovering a new part of who I could be, a part that demanded attention, poise, and daring. And as I lay in bed, staring at the city lights outside my window, I realized that the line between Liam and the pretty PA was fading fast, and I wasn't sure I wanted it back. The next morning, I felt a mixture of excitement and dread as I prepared for work. Every detail mattered: the stockings, the skirt, the blouse, the subtle makeup that had become my armor. Today wasn't just another day. It was the day Mr. Carter would evaluate me in front of the board and a new client, a high-stakes scenario that could either solidify my place or expose me entirely. As I walked into the office, my heart pounded. Colleagues offered smiles and compliments that sounded innocent but made me hyper-aware of every movement, every glance. I had learned how to sway subtly in my heels, how to tilt my head gracefully, how to speak with a softened tone without sounding artificial. But the closer I got to Mr. Carter's office, the tighter the knot in my stomach became. He looked up from his desk with a smile that was both approving and calculating. "Good morning, Liam. Ready to prove yourself?" I nodded, hands slightly trembling. "Yes, sir." He handed me the folder containing the client presentation. "You'll be assisting me, of course, but I expect you to embody confidence. Every gesture, every word counts." Confidence. The word echoed in my mind. I had practiced it endlessly, but now it was real. The client, a sharp-eyed woman named Ms. Reynolds, was due any moment, and I had to maintain the perfect balance between attentive assistant and poised professional. When the door opened, I felt my heart skip. Ms. Reynolds walked in, her gaze scanning the room before landing on me. She smiled politely, but with curiosity. I straightened, adjusting the skirt and smoothing my blouse, and felt the rush of adrenaline course through me. Every movement was scrutinized, every breath measured. The meeting began smoothly. Mr. Carter spoke first, outlining the project. I passed documents, took notes, and interjected only when necessary, always careful to maintain poise. But halfway through, disaster struck. My heel caught on the edge of the carpet, sending a sharp wobble through my step. Ms. Reynolds raised an eyebrow, and I froze for a split second, my mind screaming. Quickly, I adjusted, smiling slightly, and whispered a small joke about the carpet. Relief flashed in Mr. Carter's eyes, but I felt my face flush. That minor stumble, though quickly recovered, reminded me how precarious everything was. One small slip, and all my careful planning could unravel. As the meeting progressed, my internal tension mounted. I could feel the stockings tug against my skin, the tightness of the skirt constricting slightly with every movement, the heels amplifying my awareness of each step. My mind raced, trying to anticipate every question, every glance, every subtle judgment. Then came the real test. Mr. Carter excused himself briefly to take a call, leaving me alone with Ms. Reynolds. Her gaze lingered, curious, assessing, and I felt the weight of exposure pressing down. "You're very polished," she said softly, tilting her head. "Do you always present yourself this well?" I forced a modest smile, my voice steady despite the panic rising inside me. "Thank you. I try my best." She leaned slightly closer, lowering her voice. "It's impressive. I've never seen an assistant so attentive." My pulse spiked. Attentive. Polished. Careful. Words that carried multiple meanings, hinting at an evaluation far beyond professional competency. I had to maintain composure, yet the thrill of her attention mingled with fear. What if she saw through the persona? What if my secret slipped in the slightest inflection, the smallest gesture? Suddenly, the office door swung open, and Mr. Carter returned. "Excellent work," he said, eyes scanning both of us. "You've handled yourself exceptionally." Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. He turned to Ms. Reynolds. "Liam here is my right hand. Every detail, every client interaction, flawless." Flawless. The word lingered, heavy with expectation. I smiled, nodding, but inside, the pressure mounted. Maintaining this balance between Liam and the polished PA was exhausting, both physically and emotionally. The day dragged on, each moment a high-wire act. Emails, calls, scheduling, client requests, every task was a test. My colleagues' casual comments felt like traps, each compliment or remark a reminder that my secret was perilously close to exposure. By mid-afternoon, the real challenge emerged. Mr. Carter asked me to attend a last-minute client dinner, a formal event where my presentation skills would be scrutinized outside the office. Panic surged. Dinner meant mingling, speaking, moving with grace among strangers who had no context for my dual identity. Yet refusal was not an option. The evening arrived, and I stepped into the dress Mr. Carter had suggested, sleek, elegant, emphasizing a femininity that now felt almost permanent. He handed me a small clutch and said, "You'll need to impress. This is about proving yourself." Every step into the restaurant felt like walking on a stage. Conversations swirled around me. Glasses clinked, and I had to navigate a web of attention, balancing charm, politeness, and professionalism. One misplaced laugh, one awkward gesture, and it could all unravel. Midway through dinner, a twist struck. One of Mr. Carter's colleagues, unaware of the arrangement, commented loudly, "You've really changed, Liam, or should I say?" The words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. My stomach dropped, heart racing. Everyone's eyes flicked toward me. I smiled, keeping my tone steady. "Just trying a new style," I murmured, hoping the vague explanation would suffice. But I could feel the tension, the curiosity, the silent judgment pressing down. After dinner, the ride back was silent. Mr. Carter's eyes glinted with satisfaction. "You handled yourself well tonight." Few could pull that off with such poise. Back at home, I collapsed onto the bed, exhausted, exhilarated, and terrified all at once. The transformation was no longer just physical. It had infiltrated my identity, my confidence, and my understanding of myself. The line between Liam and the polished PA had blurred irreversibly. As I lay there, I heard a soft ping from my phone. A message from Lana. "You seem different. Something happened today." I froze. Could I tell her? Should I? The secret I had carried and perfected now pressed against the fragile barrier I had built. My pulse raced, the weight of the dual life heavier than ever. Somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, a mixture of thrill, fear, and desire. "You can't go back. You've stepped too far." And I realized that tomorrow would demand even more courage, more poise, more risk. Every glance, every interaction, every movement could expose me, could unravel everything I had worked for. And yet, the thrill, the intoxicating mix of danger and transformation, was too powerful to ignore. The climax was not just the dinner or the client's comment. It was the realization that my life had changed irreversibly. Liam and the polished PA were intertwined, inseparable, and the next challenge would test the limits of both identities. I closed my eyes, trembling, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration, knowing that the line between secrecy and exposure had never been thinner. And deep down, I understood that the coming days would push me further than I had ever imagined, testing my resolve, my identity, and my courage in ways I could not yet predict. The apartment was quiet as I slipped inside, my heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor. I leaned against the door for a moment, letting out a shaky breath. The adrenaline from the dinner had left me buzzing, a cocktail of triumph, fear, and exhaustion. Every muscle ached from tension, yet my mind refused to calm. I had done it. I had survived the high-stakes dinner, navigated the scrutiny of clients and colleagues, and maintained the polished persona Mr. Carter expected. Yet, the reality of my dual life pressed down like a weight I couldn't ignore. Liam, the unassuming assistant, had vanished under the shine of the evening's success. In his place, the poised, elegant PA moved with grace, every gesture calculated, every word measured. A soft vibration from my phone pulled me back from the edge of my thoughts. Lana's name flashed on the screen. My chest tightened. I had been dreading this moment. "You seem different. Something happened today." My fingers hovered over the keyboard. What could I say? How could I explain without revealing everything? The truth, what I had become, the secret life I was now living, was too much, too dangerous. And yet, I felt the urge to confess, to let someone in, to share the thrill and the fear that had become entwined in my very being. Before I could reply, another notification popped up, Mr. Carter's message. "Excellent work tonight. We need to meet first thing tomorrow. There's more to prove." The words sent a shiver down my spine. More to prove. The stakes were higher than ever, and I realized that the path I had stepped onto was not a temporary game. It was becoming permanent, shaping not just how others saw me, but how I saw myself. I moved toward the mirror, catching a glimpse of the reflection I had meticulously created. The carefully applied makeup, the sleek skirt, the subtle shine of the heels, it all felt like a costume and a second skin simultaneously. And yet, staring into those eyes, I recognized something unfamiliar. Confidence? Power? Or perhaps vulnerability, disguised as elegance. A knock on the door startled me, sharp and unexpected. My heart leapt into my throat. "Who's there?" I called, my voice steadier than I felt. No answer. Just silence. My mind raced. Could it be Lana? Had she come over to confront me, to discover the secret I had so carefully hidden? Or was it someone else, a neighbor, a colleague, someone who had somehow learned about the transformation? I crept toward the door, each step a battle between curiosity and fear. With trembling hands, I peeked through the peephole, nothing. The hallway was empty, eerily quiet, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were watching, evaluating, waiting for me to slip. I took a step back, exhaling shakily. The adrenaline returned, sharper this time, mingling with the exhilaration I had felt during the dinner. Every moment of triumph seemed to amplify the danger now, reminding me that success carried a cost. Then my phone buzzed again. A text from an unknown number. "Nice work tonight, but you're not finished. Are you ready for what's next?" I froze. The message made no sense. Who would know? My pulse raced, the thrill of danger entwining with the fear of exposure. The lines between play, challenge, and reality blurred. Someone knew, or at least someone suspected. I sank onto the couch, clutching the phone, mind spinning. Should I try to contact Mr. Carter? Should I reply to the unknown number? Should I confess everything to Lana, risk it all, and face the consequences? As I sat there, the weight of the day pressed down like a storm. My reflection in the nearby mirror seemed to mock me, showing a version of myself that was both familiar and utterly foreign. The polished PA, the confident assistant, the poised woman I had become. Who was I really beneath the makeup, beneath the heels, beneath the careful gestures? A sudden sound made me jump. The door clicked. Not the lock, not the handle, but a soft, deliberate click. Someone was inside. I spun around, my heart pounding, and froze. The apartment was empty, yet the air was charged with tension, as if a presence lingered, unseen. The phone buzzed again. Tonight was only the beginning. Are you ready to truly become her? The words sent a chill through me. Become her? My mind raced. Was this a challenge, a threat, or an invitation I couldn't refuse? I had survived so far, had walked the line between Liam and the persona I had created, but now the stakes felt higher, more personal. I backed into the corner, clutching the phone like a lifeline. Every nerve screamed for caution, yet a part of me, the part that had thrived on the thrill, the transformation, the dangerous exhilaration, hungered for what came next. And then I heard it, a soft, deliberate whisper, almost at the edge of hearing. "You can't hide anymore." My blood ran cold. I looked around the apartment, every shadow suddenly suspicious, every reflection a potential threat. The dual life I had so carefully maintained teetered on the edge of exposure, and I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. The screen of my phone lit up once more, a single message flashing. "Tomorrow you will prove it, or you will lose everything." My hands shook. My reflection stared back at me, wide-eyed, vulnerable, and unrecognizably transformed. The thrill, the fear, the tension, all of it converged in that moment. I understood, with terrifying clarity, that my secret, my identity, and my very future hung by a thread. And with that, the story paused, suspended between what had been and what was coming, leaving me and the viewers on the edge, desperate to know what would happen next.